I'm sitting here with Angie Bear. She's a member of Muscogee First Nation, and she's going to answer some questions for us. So, Angie, tell me a little bit about your family. Who are your mom and dad, your grandparents, and great grandparents?
Okay, my father was Vern John Edward Bear, and my mother was Lorraine Walker. They got married in 1964, and right after they had me. And my father died when I was 31, and my mother passed 20 years ago. Anyways, my father's parents are John and Dorothy Bear, and they live where Ron lives. They lived where Ron Bear lives, our chief right now. And my grandparents on my mom's side were Blanche Walker and Gordon Walker. And Blanche was from Gordon's Reserve, and my grandpa was from James Smith. And both my grandparents on my dad's side were both from Muscogee. And my granny's parents were Gilbert Carpenter Bear and Maggie Bear. And they lived down by where Everett lives. Everett Bear lives. I don't know my great grandparents on my Granny Blanche's side or my grandpa's side.
Okay. So, tell us a little bit about your mom.
Well, yeah, my grandpa John Bear, Johnny Bear, that was Caroline Bear's brother.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Family.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I know. I only recently found that out in the last 10 years.
Yeah?
Yeah, I didn't know it was related to Judy and all of them. I didn't know.
I think we're related.
Oh yeah, we all
too.
are in some way,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
It's neat.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually neat. So yeah, so I was asking about your mom because she was very instrumental with cultural teachings and knowledge out here. Can you tell me about her?
Well, my mom, she grew up in a residential school right from 6 years old to 18. She had it pretty rough. She had probably suffered the worst abuses that you could suffer in residential school. I recently found out she did have a baby before me, and I always wonder like whatever happened with that baby. I know the baby died when he was 9 months old, but I think I don't know. It has to do with residential school, and I know she suffered greatly there. All she ever told me was that the father was a murderer, and she wouldn't talk about this baby. So it only leads me to believe that it happened as a result of residential school. Yeah. Yeah, and then after she didn't leave residential school till she was taking her hairdressing, and she ended up becoming a journeyman hairdresser, aesthetics person, makeup, all of that. And so her and my dad had lived in BC for the first 5 years of our lives because my dad worked a pipeline down there. He was a journeyman pipe fitter. Actually, they met in residential school.
Oh.
And my dad had taken a pipe fitting course while he was there, and so that's how they became journeymen in their fields. And so anyways, they moved to BC when we were all little, and he just worked pipelines around BC. So we lived in 5 or 6 different cities in British Columbia before we moved back. And probably about a year after we moved back to Saskatchewan was when my father passed away. And he died by the hands of the cops.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Same with my grandpa Johnny.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so my dad had beat up a couple of guys, and their wives had phoned the cops on my dad, and so they chased him, and he went up this 3-story building in downtown Regina, like in the hood area of Regina. He went up one of those side stairways that I guess they're fire escapes. And when he was on the roof, they shone the lights. This is the story I was told. They shone the lights in his eyes and he fell off. But I don't think that's what happened. I think they pushed him off. I think they beat him up there and pushed him off. And my grandpa Johnny, he died by the hands of the cops too, you might as well say, because they picked him up for being drunk. And that's another thing. My grandpa Johnny drank ever since the day my father died till he died, and he was so heartbroken. He was drinking. He drank a lot, and the cops picked him up for being drunk in a public place, threw him in the cells downtown in Regina, in Prince Albert, and hosed him down with ice cold water.
Oh.
And he died from pneumonia shortly after. He was transported from the jail to the hospital where he passed away from pneumonia. So he died by the hands of the cops as well.
Unreal.
Yeah. And my dad was also a twin. His twin is my Auntie Bear. And she's an elder out here. She's currently in a home in Prince Albert at Mont St. Joseph. But yeah, they were twins.
So tell me about their brothers and sisters. Like, name them off.
Okay, my dad's oldest sister is Doreen Crane, which is now Lorna Paul. And then my dad and my Auntie Verna were next. And then after that, I believe, is my Auntie Muriel Bear. And then there was, I think there was a baby after my Auntie Muriel. And then it was Neil. And after Neil Bear, there was my Auntie Myrna Bear, who was the youngest. She's actually 78 now.
Wow.
I know she don't look 78.
No.
I tell you, look, I'll show you a picture of her. This is one of my favorite aunties and Maverick.
Oh, yeah, no, she doesn't even look like
No,
she's
that's her.
It's black screen.
And
It's
my
black
granddaughter.
screen. It went black screen. You're gonna have to show it.
That's my Auntie Myrna, and that's my granddaughter Maverick, who's 6.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and then on my mom's side, my Auntie Barb is the only living one left. My mom was the oldest, and then my Uncle Howard Walker was the second oldest, and then my Auntie Mariah Mashenko, and then my Uncle Robert Walker, then my Uncle Johnny Walker, and then Barbara Standing, who is still alive. The rest are all deceased.
I see.
Yeah.
So how about your uncle? I just want to mention your Uncle Howard Walker. He was very instrumental in Muscatine and traditions and the powwow and stuff like that. Tell me some stuff about him.
Well, my Uncle Howard, him too, he lived in the residence in Gordon's from when he was old enough to be in school till he aged out. And then, like my mom, he kind of spiraled for a while as a result of being in a residential school, drank a lot, and just was here and there and everywhere, and he had 4 wives.
I could just hear him mate.
Anyways, then when he met his last wife, he was always very traditional. Like, he danced. He was a traditional dancer at one point, and then he drummed as well. And he ended up starting to announce at powwows and different events, different First Nation events. He just all of a sudden became an announcer, and he was really good at it. He was actually asked by a lot of different reserves to host their powwow and to be the speaker at their powwows. And anyways, he met his last wife, Elaine Felix, and they got married, and those two were on the powwow trail right from day one. And I don't know, she was an awesome lady. I liked her. And I don't know, he quit drinking shortly after they met, and that's what he did from then on. Just go to powwow to powwow to powwow. He manned her.
Nice.
He was very traditional in he was very knowledgeable in the traditions of our people, and he just spoke of it wherever he went. He was out here, he helped our chief, Austin Bear, a lot with different things going on, teaching us, our reserve, how it was a long time ago, and to be traditional, and about our creator, and
Yeah.
different ceremonies. He was very instrumental in introducing us to a lot of different things that we didn't know about, because our reserve lost our culture long ago. we're close to Prince Albert. It's not hard to.
Yeah.
And both my mom and Uncle Howard, well, actually, all my Uncle Howard and my mom's siblings were all fluent in Cree and Soto, but they were never allowed to teach us by their spouses and whatnot. So none of us really knew how to speak Cree or Soto. Understand it, but don't speak it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely missed. For sure.
That's the one thing I am so sorry for, that my mom never ever got to teach us, but my dad wouldn't allow her to teach us. And like, it's no fault of his, that's what he was told as well. My grandpa Johnny and my mom, that was her father-in-law, they used to sit there and speak Cree as much as they could. But my granny would get mad and my dad would get mad. Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. So can you tell me who your children are?
My kids are Ashley Bear. She's just about got her business degree. She's a class away. And Justin Bear and Jordan Stonestand and Lacey Stonestand and Nicholas Stonestand. Nicholas he was a plumber / carpenter. Jordan, oil worker, heavy equipment operator. Justin, welder, floor covering person.
Nice. And who are your siblings?
My siblings there was me, my brother Vince, and my brother Lindsay. Lindsay committed suicide at 33 years old. He was also schizophrenic. So I kind of always knew that's what was going to happen when he went, was he would die by his own hand. Vince, he's a truck driver. He's been a truck driver for over 30 years, and he currently lives in Nanaimo, British Columbia.
Nice. So, did you grow up on Muscadet?
Off and on. Like, I was here when I was 6, 8, 10, 12.
Back and forth, eh?
Yeah. My mom moved a lot after my father passed away. She just moved everywhere from BC to Ontario. I went to like sometimes 3-4 schools a year. But I'd always asked to come back here. My brothers were in social services a time or two, and I never ever really ended up in social services. I don't know. I really don't know about that. I might have at a younger age, but from what I remember, if my brothers went to social services, I went to my aunts. And I had 4 aunts that had always kept me. My Auntie Verna mostly, my Auntie Muriel, my Auntie Edith, and my Auntie Barb. They would never let me go. They took me every chance they had. So I was very lucky there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then my mom would straighten out for a while, and then it would start over again. She finally didn't drink anymore, probably 15 to 20 years before she passed away.
Yep.
But she ended up passing away as a result of drinking all those years.
Right.
Her liver started failing her.
Right. So, what do you remember as a child growing up on Muscadet?
Growing up in Muscadet, this is the only place I ever wanted to be. I'd beg and cry to come back here every chance I had, boy. And when I did, I always had fun. Like, I lived with my Auntie Verna. They were farmers, her and my Uncle Hilliard. My Auntie Verna was a homemaker. She always made bread. She had chicken. She had a big garden. And my uncle was a farmer. So I had a good life there.
Yeah.
A really good life. And I just had so much fun.
What did you guys do back then for
We
fun?
used to go play out in the fields, ride motocross bikes, ride just everything. We played in the bushes. I had a friend, her name was Laverne Bear. And me and her, we'd make these little houses in the bushes, and we'd say, this is where we're going to live when we grow up. Your house is there, mine is here, and we're going to live side by side forever. That was our plan. We were like 10 to 12 years old then. Yeah.
Nice. So back then, how did families help each other and treat each other?
Well, my Auntie Verna was all my aunts were really helpful. They, like I said, took care of me. They helped my mom get sober, and vice versa. My mom helped them get sober too, because my mom did end up getting my Aunt Verna sober.
Yeah.
So The only thing is that my Auntie Verna is I had to live with Jehovah Witnesses. That wasn't fun. I never found that fun at all. But yeah, I have to give up something to have something, I guess.
So were there any sporting events here when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, we had lots going on out here. They started up with powwows out here. There was also chuck wagon rodeo events happening. I remember that as when I was like around 12 years old. We also had ball teams out here. We had a men's fastball team, which was called the Eagles, and we used to just love going to watch games and tournaments and stuff like that. The girls also had a team which I played on. There was a lot of us girls around my age then. There was also curling out here. Everybody used to get excited to go watch curling on the weekends and some weeknights. Mostly ball and curling. I do believe they did play hockey. We used to go skate down at the pond at the river. There was a big area there that was always cleared out where we went skating. We also swam down there at that dirty old river, but it wasn't that bad then. It was actually really nice. It was like being on a beach when we were at the sandbar. And we had a lot of fun. There was always there was lots of us our age that all hung around together and we just had fun. We were always outside. We were never inside playing games or anything like that. We were outside.
Nice.
And there was always something to do. Everybody just slept around at each other's houses and everybody always had campers and there was always lots of us.
Yeah.
It
So
was just fun.
how did people treat each other back then?
Everybody
versus
was
now?
really good. Like nobody fought or anything like that. We didn't have weapons and we didn't have little groups that were against this group and that group. We all were together. We all played together. We all hung out together. There was the rec center, the old rec center, which is down by Chris Bear's house, and that was a place to hang out as well. We just all got along. Very rare to have any confrontations or anything like that. Like everybody just got along.
Nice. I like that.
Now it's nothing like that. I don't know, things got to change back to how they were. That's what I see.
Why do you think it got like that?
I don't really know. It just all of a sudden happened. We're so close to the city for one. Everybody started probably hanging out with people from town, Birch Hills, whatever. I don't know, but we still did then too. Like we got along with Birch Hills kids. We got along with Prince Albert's kids. Like we have friends from when we were teenagers that we still have now from Prince Albert and Birch Hills. But somewhere along the way when gangs and that came along, that's where it all changed.
Huh. So where do you think that all this disconnect happened? Like, between the families back then and how it used to be?
I can't even really say. It makes me wonder just about every day what happened. But I still say it's a result of drugs and alcohol. That's only where I can see it happen from. Our drugs then were smoking weed. Like, it was nothing compared to now. That was our biggest sin then, was to smoke weed. And now that's nothing compared to what we have to deal with now.
Right.
Yeah. Like, we still drank then. We still had parties. Like, we did. Well, I'm not saying we were angels, but that we were angels compared to the ones now. You look back at it, yeah. And it wasn't like all of us ended up keeping on drinking and partying and whatnot. It wasn't like that. That was what we did at the time. And then we went on to our careers and whatnot and our families, having kids and all that. And then, it was just normal. Now it's like way out of hand. Some of these young parents don't even keep their kids anymore. It's grandparents raising these kids. Yeah. It's so different from when we were younger. Very much different. And it always makes me wonder what happened. I used to love coming out here. I still love it here. I don't care. Like, it's my home. Yeah. I'll always love it out here. but I wish it could change for the better.
Right. Do you have any recommendations of what we might do to be able to
Well,
help
we have
that?
to have some kind of a drug, something, intervention of some major drug intervention of some kind, because that's what I blame is the drugs.
Yeah.
It's not the alcohol. I don't know, some people might say it is, but I don't see it as that. I really don't. It's the drugs. The drugs are hardcore. We never had things like meth and crack and coke and that when we were younger. We never had any of that. Our biggest sin was weed and a bottle of beer. But now, oh my God. I'm so scared for my grandkids right now. I have one I'm really, really fearful for her right now. I never thought it would ever happen, but it did. And just got to try and deal with it as best as we can and get her some help.
Kicking back, changing directions. Do you know if there was any medicine people in our community back then?
You know what? I don't really know. I really don't know. Maybe my granny might have been. I don't know. My mom maybe. I don't know. I know they knew how to use different plants and that for healing. I do know that. There was no, I don't know, I remember hearing Indian medicine is bad and all this stuff, but they were never into that. The Indian medicine in the terms of healing people, is what I believe. I don't believe in using it as a bad thing, cursing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I've never believed in that. Never. I think it is to be used. Those were our antibiotics long before we were ever here. Those were our antibiotics. Those were what we used for pain. Those were what we used to cure us. Those were what we used for different things, even for cancer. There's so much cancer now, but people don't use those things from way long time ago. And maybe if we started going back to that, maybe there wouldn't be so much like it was then. Not so much. Mm-hmm. I believe that.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. So, did you ever go to school on Muscadet?
No.
No? Where did you go to school?
Maybe the kindergarten. I went to the kindergarten. I did go to the kindergarten. And my little brother went to the kindergarten as well. That was when we first came back from BC. But other than that, no, I didn't go to school out here. The rec center was a school, I believe, but I never ever attended there. I always went to school at either East Central, Riverside, or Birch Hills.
Yeah, a lot of Muscadet people went to East Central.
Yeah.
How'd you like it there?
I liked East Central.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy, but I liked it. I remember there was a Ouija board up in the attic, and we used to go sneak up there to go find it.
Really?
Oh my God, I'm glad I never was there when it was around. I would have freaked right out. I probably still would have been thinking of that damn thing every day. But I guess it did scare a couple of other of my peers. Another couple of friends did go and operate the damn thing, and there's crazy too.
Jeez.
But I guess it's what you believe, what beliefs you put into it, that's what's going to happen. I don't know. If you believe something strong enough, it can happen, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
So now, can you explain the history of Muscadet in your own words?
All I know is it's somewhere I always wanted to be. I don't know the history. I know there was a John Smith and a James Smith. And I'm probably a descendant of both. Because my mom was originally from James Smith, so.
Yeah.
My dad's from here. So I just know that those two brothers had settled here and there, and that's how our reserves came about, and I don't know any more than that.
Like, how did leadership work? What did the band hall look like? How did that all happen?
I was told there was a band hall down by Margaret's.
Yeah.
Deceased Margaret and Austin Bear's house. I never ever remember seeing that. We were just recently talking about this, and my friend had asked me, he said, do you remember that band hall that was down by Austin Margaret's? I said, no. He goes, you don't remember that? I said, no. But yeah, I guess there was a band hall over there. I remember this one where it currently is. It was a lot smaller. Like, that's all I remember of the band hall. And we always had our chiefs voted in, and that there was always 5 councillors as far as I know. That's about as much as I know of that.
So do you have any, well, let's change gears, okay? So do you have any stories you want to share? Whether it be like ghost stories or legends or stuff like that you've ever heard of?
Oh,
or...
there were little people out here.
Yeah?
Yeah, I remember hearing about little people. They were just tiny little people, and they used to live up. Okay, so I know there was some that were up by Ruby Charles's house, back in the sloughs back there. There was little people around there.
Yeah.
I used to hear of a couple of our friends there that used to play with them.
Really?
Yeah, Adrian. I heard with one. Arthur was another one that had seen them.
Yeah.
And then I also heard there was little people down by the river. Yeah, on the island there was little people that lived there too.
Hmm.
There was also a story of a lady that was always seen on the highway floating. We were just recently talking about that too. And yeah, she'd be floating. She had on a long white flowing gown, and she'd just float along around there.
Hmm.
So I don't know the behind story of that, but just that people had seen this floating lady on the highway. What I heard when I was younger was that you're driving on the highway, and there's this lady trying to stop cars, so you pick her up, and she gets in the back seat of your vehicle, and when you turn around, she's not there.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard that a few times. I don't, maybe it's the same lady that's floating around, I don't know, but it's all in the same area. And that's also where all the little people were too, so those all must have to do with each other, I think.
Huh.
That's about as much as I know of ghost stories around here. But I believe in that floating lady because my dad, I remember being a little kid and my dad telling me about it.
Really?
Yeah, that he was one of them that picked up this lady and looked back and she was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
So our last question. What important message do you want to share with our future generations about education?
Please get your education. There's nothing better that you can do for yourself than have an education. Without an education, we can't work along with the government and get what we want. Without that education, we do need it. Our children need it. They need it to get somewhere in life. We need it to make things happen with our government.
Yeah.
We need to have our own government, is what I believe, but we're not ready for that because we're all not educated enough for that. When we are, look out. I believe that. And I have pushed that on my kids and my grandkids. All of my kids graduated. I would have had 4 kids graduating this year. 4 grandkids graduating this year. Kale, Jana, Jace, and Dylan.
Wow.
Jana dropped out, but the other 3 are still graduating high school, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are my oldest ones.
Right.
So, and I'm just going to keep pushing and pushing until every one of them graduates as well. That's what I did to my kids, and I'm going to do that to theirs too.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You have any last words of wisdom or?
I just wish that
share?
we could get back to live in harmony again. That's what I want. Everybody live in harmony and not be against each other. And how are we gonna get what we want if we're all fighting each other? Why should First Nation people fight against First Nation people? We should be fighting for what we want, and that's with the Canadian government. Like, we can't live in harmony if we're all going to be bickering with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
And get your education. That's number 1.
Well, thank you so much, Angie, for sharing your story with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.